students, today we are going to concentrate on the next terminology from the topic, that is the reproduction in lower and higher organisms. That concept, it is the birth control. So in that birth control we are going to study certain points. Among that the first one, it is contraceptive. So what is meant by the contraceptive? So the birth control measures which are preventing the fertilization, it is called as the contraceptive. So we can say in general terms, the contraceptives are useful to avoid the process of pregnancy. So as far as the contraceptives which are available in the market of various types, how should be the ideal contraceptive? So the characteristic of the ideal contraceptive, that it should be easily available, it should be user friendly, that means the person who is going to use that contraceptive, that is going to be facilitated for that person. Then it should be easily available, effective in the manner of the function, that it should be effective, that it should be having sufficient ability to prevent the fertilization process, and it should rather have no side effects, or if present it should have least side effects. So these are the various characters that ideal contraceptive should have. So the next point we are going to concentrate over the birth control methods. As far as that part is considered, you can observe that birth control methods are broadly classified into the two categories, that is the temporary method and permanent method. As the name indicates, temporary method, these are for shorter duration, and the permanent methods. So as far as that part is considered, the temporary methods are classified into the 7 subtypes. So which are the types of the temporary birth control measure? The first one is the natural method or sep period method, or it is also called as the rhythm method. Second one, it is called as the coitus interruptus. As the name indicate, the process of the coitus get interrupted in that method, that is including the withdrawal of the penis. Third method, it is called as the lactational amenorrhea, or it is also related with the absence of the menstruation. Lactational amenorrhea, that is related to the lactation period. We are going to study that part in later on part. So fourth one, it is the chemical means. So the chemical means, in that various types of the chemicals are utilized to prevent the process of the fertilization. Rather, these chemicals are responsible for killing the sperms. So we can say the chemical means are mainly including the spermicides. The fifth one, it is the mechanical means. So the mechanical means, these are also called as the barrier methods, and it is including further certain types. Among that, the first one is the condom, second one is the diaphragm or cervical cap and vaults. Third one, it is called as the intrauterine devices. So that is the fifth type. The sixth type, it is the physiological methods, or which are also called as the oral devices. Commonly it includes certain tablets. So these tablets are named as the pills. So that is the sixth type. And the last type, that is the other contraceptive, which are including the birth control implant. So actually these 7 methods, these are included in the temporary methods of the birth control. As far as the permanent methods are considered, they are including 2 types. That one, that is called as the vasectomy, and the another method, that is called as the tubectomy. Vasectomy, that is the method which is related to the male, and tubectomy, that is the method which is related to the female. So that is the outline for the various birth control methods. So we are going to concentrate over that one by one. So here we are going to focus on the first part, that is the temporary method. In that, the first type, that is the natural method, or it is also called as the sep period method or the rhythm method. As the name indicate, it is based on the principle of the ovulation. Generally all of you know that the ovulation, it is a process which is occurring on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. So by using that idea, this method is including the period of about 1 week before the menstruation, and the period after the 1 week after the menstruation. So that period, it is called as the sep period. I am repeating that part. What is the sep period? Or in that period, we can say it is when the sexual intercourse is done without any type of the precaution, the pregnancy cannot be maintained. So actually that is the concept related to that method. So a week before the menstruation bleeding and the week after the menstruation bleeding, it is considered to be separate. So that idea is based on the process of the ovulation which is occurring on the 14th day of the menstrual cycle. But all of you know that every female, it is having quite sort of some type of the different physiology. So generally, as far as the menstrual cycle is considered, on an average we consider that it is of 28 days, but that is not the case in all the females. In some female, that duration may be variable. It may be variable from month to month also, and due to that, that method is also having certain drawbacks, that it is not 100% secure method. I think that part should be clear. The second method we are going to concentrate, that is the old method, that is called as the coitus interruptus. So coitus interruptus. So the sexual intercourse is interrupted in between. So in that method, what happened? The process in which the withdrawal of the penis from the vagina before releasing of the semen. So that means insemination is avoided during the copulation process, sexual intercourse process. So here, before insemination, the penis is withdrawn, so it can help to avoid the chances of the pregnancy, but again it is also having certain drawbacks. Why? Because the fluid which is given out before the ejaculation, that is called as a pre-ejaculatory fluid, that may contain the secretion from the glands like Cowper's gland. That fluid may contain sperms and that may cause pregnancy. So it is not 100% accurate method. The third method, that is called as the lactational amenorrhea. So what is meant by the lactational amenorrhea? In the female who has undergone the process of the parturition, after the parturition, that female is showing the intense lactational period for the breastfeeding of the newly born child. So in that female, the ovulation does not occur during that period. That period may be variable. In some female, that may be of some few weeks, or in some that may be of few months. So in that period of the active or the intense lactational period, the ovulation is avoided, and in that situation the pregnancy cannot occur. But here also the chances of failure are present there. So it is also not a 100% accurate or reliable method. So that is the third method. The fourth method, you can observe that the fourth method, it is including the chemical means. So chemical means, in that spermicides are used. So the spermicides, as the name indicates, these are the chemicals which are used to kill the sperms. Where they are used? So generally the spermicides, these are the present in the form of foam or the tablets or jellies. So these are the substances which are applied to the inner portion of the vagina before the start of actual sexual intercourse. What is the mechanism of action of these spermicides? These spermicides adhere to the mucous membrane of the vagina, and they are bringing about the immobilization and killing of the sperm. So that means they prevent the movement of the sperm and ultimately kill them. So that is the way of action of this spermicide. But there are certain drawbacks, that the spermicide, these are the chemicals. In female, some female, they may develop certain allergic reaction, and the chances of failure is also present in such type of the method. The next method, that is including mechanical means, or it is also called as the barrier methods. As the name indicates, barrier, that means in that method, with help of certain barriers which are preventing the fusion or aggregation of the sperm and ovum with each other, these methods are used, these barriers are used. So these barriers are of various types. You can observe the first common barrier, all of you should aware about that, that is the condom. So what is meant by the condom? Condom is nothing but a rubber sheath which is covering the erected penis. So that condom, it is preventing the insemination of the semen into the female vaginal tract. So that is the simple way of functioning of the condom. But that condom is also responsible for give the protection against the sexually transmitted diseases. These are abbreviated as STD, sexually transmitted diseases. Example, you should know about that. That is the gonorrhea and syphilis. These are the common examples. We are going to study them in latter part. So these are the sexually transmitted diseases which are spread through the unprotected or unsafe sexual contact, as well as the pandemic disease. All of you know, should aware about that. That is the AIDS. These diseases can be also prevented with help of the condom. So generally, by the Indian government, these condoms are distributed free of cost in the government hospitals. They are commonly known as the Niroth. So the condoms, they are easy to use, they are easily available, and one important precaution that should be taken, that they should be properly used and discarded after each single use. So that is all the information related to the first barrier or first mechanical mean, that is the condom. So the second barrier, that is called as the diaphragm, or it is also including the cervical caps and vaults. So actually the diaphragm, cervical caps as well as the vaults, these we can say these are nothing but the female condoms. They are homologous to the male condom. So generally these are also made up from the rubber sheets, and they are fitted over the opening of the cervix. So these devices, they are inserted into the female reproductive tract, and they cover the opening of the cervix and prevent the entry or the movement of the sperm in inner reproductive passage of the female. So these are the examples which are related to the second method. The third method, or the third part we are going to study here, that is related to the physiological mechanical means, that is barriers, that is called as the intrauterine devices. Intrauterine devices, these are abbreviated as IUDs. So here you have to remember three main parts. Which types of the intrauterine devices we are going to study here? That is, first one is the lipase loop, second one is the copper releasing IUDs, that is intrauterine devices, and the third one, it is called as the hormone releasing IUDs. So here we are going to concentrate over this part, that as far as the condom or diaphragm and cervical caps, we can say these can be utilized by the individuals by themselves. That does not require any type of the professional attention. So any person can utilize them easily. But here the utilization of the IUDs, that should be done by a medical practitioner, likewise a doctor or a trained nurse, that can fit these devices into the female reproductive tract, uterine tract. So generally these devices, among that the first one is the lipase loop. You can observe the diagram of the lipase loop. That lipase loop, it is a double S-shaped structure, and we can say it is double S-shaped loop, and it is responsible for stimulation of the macrophages. When it is fitted in the uterus, it stimulates the macrophages present in the blood cells. These macrophages get accumulated toward the uterine cavity, and they bring about the process of phagocytosis. Means what? When the sperms get released into the female vaginal tract, at that time the macrophages get accumulated, and that macrophages, they complete the process of the phagocytosis related to the sperms. That means we can say the sperms are destroyed by the process of the phagocytosis. Second part, that is called as the copper releasing IUDs. So it is including various types which are utilized in the market. That is, the one is copper T, another one is copper 7, as well as there is a presence of multilode 375. These are the various examples. So what is the mode of action? Actually these copper releasing IUDs, they suppress the sperm motility. That means they prevent the movement of the sperm so that the sperms become immobilized, and then they are also responsible for decreasing the fertilizing capability of the sperm, fertilizing capacity of the sperm. So that is the mode of action which is related to the copper releasing IUDs. And the last part here, that is the hormone releasing IUDs. As the name indicate, hormone releasing IUDs, these are structures which are fitted in the uterus. Actually they make the uterus unsuitable for the implantation, and they also causes cervix to so the third part which is related to the barrier method, that is including the intrauterine devices, among that the last part, that is the hormone releasing IUDs. These are the structures which make the uterus unsuitable for the process of the implantation, and they also responsible for cervix to become unable to enter the sperms easily. So what happens due to that? It delays the pregnancy for longer period. In that manner, that hormone releasing IUDs are functioning. But here you have to remember there are certain drawbacks, that these IUDs, they are showing the sometimes spontaneous expulsion. That means they are get expelled out without the knowledge of that woman. Also, in some female, it may cause occasional hemorrhage. Hemorrhage, that is the word that is related to the bleeding. And the third part, in some female, it may develop certain chances of the infection. So these are the drawbacks which are related to the hormone releasing IUDs. So after the fifth type, we are going to concentrate over the sixth type, that is the physiological or oral devices. So actually the physiological or oral devices, these are utilized in the form of tablets and which are commonly called as the pills. So these pills, these are taken orally and hence they are generally termed as the oral contraceptive, and they are containing the hormones, likewise the progesterone and estrogen. What is the mechanism of action of these pills? These pills inhibit the process of ovulation. So as the ovulation is inhibited, no egg or no sperm is given out, and due to that the fertilization process is ultimately prevented. Generally these pills, they are also having capability to alter the quality of cervical mucus, and that is important to prevent the entry of the sperm. So the pills, they are having certain side effects in some female, that certain female feel the process of nausea, the feeling of the nausea, as well as in some female the process of weight gain is observed. In case of the some female, the breast, they shows the tenderness, that means the hardness or erectness of the breast that get decreased, as well as slight blood loss in between the menstrual period. So these are the certain side effects which may occur or which may observe in some female. In India, the pill that is called named as the Saheli, that is an oral contraceptive, and that should be taken weekly. So here you have to remember that part. The pill Saheli, it should be taken weekly, rather it is non-steroidally, it is free from any type of the steroids. And in India, the government is also referring, they are also referring use of such type of the pills named as the Saheli. So the next, that is the last type of the temporary method for the birth control, that is called as the other contraceptive. In that other contraceptive, what is included? The other contraceptive, it include the birth control implant. So what do you mean by the birth control implant? These are small matchstick like needle like structure, and these are implanted under the skin of the upper arm, and these structures can give the protection from the pregnancy for few years. So that is the most popular method in most of the foreign countries. In India also these methods are generally utilized by most of the people. So that's all about the temporary methods of the birth control. So the next part, it is called as a permanent method for the birth control. So generally these permanent methods, in case of the male, it is called as a vasectomy, and in case of the female, it is called as the tubectomy. So these permanent methods are simply termed as the sterilization method. These are the surgical methods which are called as the sterilization. That means the ability of the male or that female to reproduce, it is prevented permanently in these methods. So what is done in the vasectomy, which is done in the male, and in the tubectomy, which is done in the female? You have to remember that part. In the vasectomy, the small part of the vas deferens is tied and cut, and in case of the female, when the tubectomy is done, in that part, small part of the fallopian tube, it is tied and cut. So these processes these blocks the transport of the gametes and ultimately prevent the process of the pregnancy. I think that part should very clear for you. So next part we are going to concentrate over in the next lecture. Thank you.